Okay, we have a motion and a second for our resolution recognizing Welcoming Week, which is surely what many of the folks in this room are here for. And I'll just say that the week obviously represents a commitment to ongoing work in the city of Lancaster to make this a place that is truly welcome for all people, wherever you come from, wherever home is. We are deeply grateful that you have chosen to make this your next home, and the various community partners such as CASA and Church World Service that make that transition easier for folks and make sure that our people can represent themselves in public in the civil arena are dearly important to us. And so at this moment, I'm going to turn it over to Director of Neighborhood Engagement, Milzy Carrasco.
Mr. President, if I could read the title of the resolution.
See, I'm not going to keep the man from doing his job. Sir, please.
A resolution to the Council of the City of Lancaster recognizing Welcoming Week in the City of Lancaster and celebrating the city's continuing designation as a welcoming city by the National Welcoming America Initiative.
Thank you.
Thank you. And what a wonderful night, seeing so many diverse people here in City Council. We're really excited to have you all of our guests here. Thank you, Mayor, Council, and Council President for the opportunity to speak here today and share with you more about Welcoming Week. Milzy Carrasco, as you know, Director of Neighborhood Engagement, and I'm here today in recognizing Welcoming Week and the City of Lancaster to continue designation as a certified welcoming city by Welcoming America. As many may know, Lancaster takes pride in having a long history of welcome since the early 1700s. That long history has now become the identity and tradition of Lancastrians, as we are recognized as the refugee capital of the nation and Pennsylvania's first certified welcoming city since 2019, and one of only 15 cities designated certified in the U.S. And that's just a round of applause. It is so important to understand Lancaster's history and legacy, acknowledging that Lancaster was founded by immigrants seeking a new beginning and continues to thrive by contributions of multicultural communities that includes refugee and immigrants. Zaira Falou will be providing more information about our Welcoming City certification process and language access later this evening. Welcoming Week runs from September 9th, which we've started last Friday, through the 18th, and the celebration of Welcoming Week, a national event where communities bring together neighbors of all backgrounds to build strong connections and affirm the importance of welcoming and inclusive places and achieving a sense of where we belong. In celebration, we unveiled Lancaster City Welcome Center, formerly the Visitor Center. This new name reflects the center's commitment to equity, expanded role in celebrating Lancaster City and its residents through cultural celebrations, programming, and more that reflects the city's diverse population. On the 9th, we also hosted a cultural Nepali dance and received Joel Makichi at Penn Square, a local Haitian musician and his band that actually wrote a song about the city of Lancaster and how the city welcomed him. Hispanic Heritage Month exhibition at the Welcome Center will open this Friday, September 16th. The city also participated in a One World Festival hosted at F&M, celebrating immigrant and refugees' cultures. And we also finalized our welcoming designation audit and hosted 2 program specialists from Welcoming America for several days here in the last week of August. In the future, we're expanding collaborations with our community partners. We're continuing to support the LCRIC, Lancaster County Refugee and Immigrant Coalition, and continue to foster inclusion work throughout city government and partner organization. I want to thank you all for your continued support. Thank you. Special thanks to our committed staff and our community partners that are represented here. Thank you, CASA, CWS, and so many that aren't here today with us. And really a special thank you to Zaira Falou. A round of applause for your dedication and hard work during this certification process. Next, we have some community partners that would like to share some of their words. And just to share with you who's in the audience, we have a Congolese group that's here in the back row. So I want to welcome you and thank you for joining us here today. We also have Waldemar Pau and his family that recently relocated from northern Guatemala, and they're here in the front row. We also have the very big group of CASA. You can read it on their shirt. So we want to thank them for being here with us today. And Ahmed, I believe, is here again. So really want to continue to thank you, Ahmed, for your continued support. So I believe there's some words that each one of, actually 3 groups want to share, and we can start with CASA. Sarah, are you the one sharing the words? Oh, Lena. Okay, great. So thank you. And I'll introduce the next group after CASA completes their comments.
Hi, my name is Maria Diaz, and I'm gonna be the one translating for Lina. Hello, good evening. My name is Lina. I'm from Cuba, and I'm a member of CASA. CASA is an organization that fights for the justice of the communities. And today we have justice for everyone that lives here in Lancaster. I'm very grateful that the city of Lancaster has welcomed the immigrant and the Latinx communities. It's very helpful that we now feel included in the city and that we can have information in our own languages. Thanks to our immigrant and Latinx communities who have come to live here in this beautiful city that has opened its doors for us, and we know that all of us unite to contribute to the economy of Lancaster. Thank you very much.
Thank you. And next we have Ramucho with Church World Services. By the way, I love saying that, Ramucho.
Good evening, City Council member. My name is Rwamucho Karekezi. I'm serving as a resettlement case manager at Church World Service. But at the end of this month, I will start a new position with CWS as a refugee community organizer. I'm looking forward to working with you as we engage refugee and immigrant neighbors to access civic life of the city. Me and my family, we arrived here in Lancaster in 2018. This is very meaningful to me as a person. That's you recognize the welcoming week where you support the people like me, like my family, and other people like me. So thank you very much. I'm very grateful to live in Lancaster City, where people show me that they care about us, and working for organizations like CWS, who welcoming all the people and serve them with love and dignity. I want to thank you for welcoming week to continue to commit to build city where new refugee and immigrant neighbors know that we are great, they are here, and we value their contribution. I'm looking forward to working with you to ensure that all residents can access the city services, feel safe and comfortable for being themselves here, and building stronger and more diverse community. Thank you so much, and appreciate it. I'm looking forward to working with you.
Thank you, Ramucho.
And next we have Ahmed that wants to share some words with council. Thank you.
Ahmed, 600 block of North Lime. So great to be back here at Welcoming Week. It feels like it was just yesterday when we were here last year and celebrating all of the great work we're doing here in Lancaster. So my name is Ahmed. I'm a volunteer community organizer with Church World Service, a former refugee and proud resident of Lancaster City. So Welcoming Week means a lot to us here in Lancaster because we get to reflect on what it means, what we could do better, and how we are going to continue to move the needle to be a welcoming city. So this year, we were able to receive another grant to continue our welcome bags, which are now called Here to Stay bags, because we want to, switch it from welcoming to retention. How can we retain refugees and immigrants? How can we make sure that they're here to stay, that they too could be valued leaders in the community, and that they could be a visible impact here in Lancaster? So what started as a project in the Mayor's Neighborhood Leaders Academy just a few years ago, this year we were able to receive additional funding through the Lancaster Community Foundation and the Lancaster Equity Council, where I'm happy to be an equity partner. So we were able to continue this idea of making sure that new residents had direct resources. So what's in these Here to Stay bags is, gift cards, so they could purchase whatever they would like. Sometimes it's difficult when new residents are given, old clothes or an old mattress, which is great, but, these aren't the direct resources they need. We also have Uber cards because, we know that public transportation could be difficult to navigate, as a new resident. I remember when me and my family first came to Lancaster, sometimes we'd be on the bus all the way to Columbia, not knowing when to get off or, where to stop or, how to navigate it. And then we were able to have such great community support. Once again, we have some great partners, the Sweet Shop of Lancaster, Decades Lancaster, Prince Street Cafe. And this year we were able to highlight a woman immigrant refugee business, Flavors of Morocco. So now in these welcome bags, we'll also have gift cards so that they can enjoy some great Moroccan food at Southern Market. And this is, very important to all of us because we want to make sure that when we welcome new residents, we really want them to feel at home. We want them to feel welcome. We don't want them to feel as if this is an act of charity, and we want to make sure it's sincere. And we still have work that we could be doing. We're still in the middle of fighting an affordable housing crisis here in Lancaster. And we want to be able to, once again, retain new Americans and new Lancastrians here in Lancaster. We also need to make sure that we continue to make them a part of city government. Elect them to positions, put them on boards, allow them to be participants, invite them to speak at council so that they could continue to feel that they are heard and they can participate. Many of us left due to political persecution or, we lost the political power we had in our former homes. But here in Lancaster, we get to regain that power. We get to welcome each other, and we get to continue to build these bridges that are so crucial and vital to, the health and the continuity of our city. So I just want to thank a few important people. First off, Church World Service, Valentina, Ruth, Rachel, everybody, Matt at Church World Service. I want to thank the Lancaster Equity Fund and the Lancaster Equity Council, LaRock, Zavi, Karina, everybody over there. My fiance, Kate, who helped design these bags and helped me stay late up at night filling them. And just once again, our partners at Decades Lancaster, Sweet Shop of Lancaster, Prince Street Cafe, Holiday Inn Lancaster, everybody who was able to make this come to light, and especially Millsy and Zyra, who are continuing to be pillars in our community and fighting towards making sure that we remain welcoming. So just want to thank all you guys once again, and hopefully we'll be here every single welcoming week, getting more grant funding to put direct resources in the hands of new Lancastrians. Thank you.
Wait, Ahmed, hold on a second. Can you show us a little bit? Can we see?
So this is the new design that was designed by my fiance Kate. So it says "Here to Stay,"
Okay.
and we really want them to know that they're here to stay. Inside we have a welcoming packet, which has some great information, and it has, brochures from Discover Lancaster, who to call lists from the city, whether your power goes out, your plumbing, where to get the best haircut, and just some more goodies in here, Hammond's Pretzels, Emma's Popcorn, some gift cards, obviously, and it's just really important, because I remember when me and my family first came to the 300 block of West Grant Street, I was sometimes wearing a pink sports coat or, wearing, the team that lost that season's Super Bowl tee. So now we get to put direct resources into the hands of new neighbors and show them that they too are here to stay.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Council. That's all we have, and what a wonderful day and evening celebrating the wonderful people of our city. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, council comments.
Yes, sir.
Councilor
Thank you,
Khalid.
Council President. So for me, celebrating Welcoming Week is a way to fight bigotry and encourage inclusion. It's a way to remind everyone that Lancaster is their home, where whether you've just arrived today, yesterday, last week, many years ago, for different reasons. Lancaster has a long history, as Director Milsey just said, of opening its doors to immigrants and refugees. No matter your background, the celebration of Welcoming Week is a way to remind Lancaster's large immigrant and refugee populations that they are part of this community. In my case, I have multiple reasons to call Lancaster home because this is the only place where I have lived in the US. And I encourage and thank this administration and all the organizations like CWS, especially Rachel, Valentina, Matt Johnson, and CASA, for their work to make immigrants and refugees feel at home in Lancaster. Thank you.
I just don't want to neglect Mr. Amarsyad and the work that he does. He's present with us here this evening, and at many of our key city events, he has been there to translate for many different groups of people and help make sure that the civic life of Lancaster is accessible to all. So I want to make sure we recognize you as well, sir. Other council comments? From the public? Hearing none. Julie, are you sitting up because you would like to comment? Please. Oh, I'm sorry. Could you please come to the microphone? Thank you. And then, yeah, start us off with your name and the block of your residence.
My residence.
So like, I live at 500 block of South, yeah.
Got it. Hello, my name is Julia Cow. I live on the 500 block of West Walnut Street. I was just giving a comment to Ahmed, thanking him for acknowledging the council, but we do have to keep in mind that he has been doing that work before the council was even of existence. We simply gave him a little bit more support and a little bit more to refine the work that he already does for our great community. So as representative of the council, we just like to thank everyone for supporting him and giving him all the resources as a city to do the work that he does.
Thank you. Other comments from the public? Okay. Hearing none, Mr. Harris.
Mr. Arroyo.
Aye.
Mr. Calise.
Aye.
Ms. Craig.
Aye.
Ms. Diaz.
Aye.
Ms. Walsh.
Aye.
And President Smith-Waddell.
Aye. All right. It is officially Welcoming Week. Thank you to everyone for joining us. Now, I have anybody who wants a copy of this resolution can contact my office via our clerk. But I think I am holding in my hand something I've never held before, which is a copy of a piece of city law in Kiswahili. So I also have a copy here in Spanish. Councilor Calix, would you please join me?
Claro. Claro.
It's challenging to decide where these go, but we will make sure that everybody gets a copy. I just want to make sure that our families that are here receive a copy. Thank you for being here. And thank you. Okay, thank you again, all. Mr. Harris, it's my understanding that we have a couple more resolutions of recognition this evening.
We do, Mr. President. Next is Resolution Number 74, a resolution of the Council of the City of Lancaster recognizing September 15th, 2022 through October 15th, 2022 as Hispanic Heritage Month and encouraging awareness among the citizens of the City of Lancaster of the important contributions of the people of Latino descent.
Motion to approve?
Second.
Second?
All right, we have a motion and a second. Councilor Diaz, Councilor Arroyo.
I'm going to speak in Spanish. You can say it in English. Buenas tardes a todos, especialmente a aquellos que no hablan y dominan el inglés. Esto para mí es un orgullo porque soy latina y porque nuestra gente estamos del Caribe a España, a Sudamérica. Traemos no solamente música, pero comida de todas partes. Y tenemos que celebrar porque muchas veces mucha gente nos trata mal. No nos dan trabajo fijo, no nos pagan bien. So tenemos que ser muy orgullosos y seguir peleando, al igual que yo he peleado todo el tiempo para que nuestra gente puedan vivir bien, con salud buena y con mucha fiesta. So en este mes queremos decirles que tenemos muchos eventos para que participen y espero que sigan adelante. Gracias.
Thank you, Council President. I'll say this in English. In our resolution today, we are declaring Hispanic Heritage Month while recognizing the contributions of members of our Hispanic community historically in Lancaster, working on the front lines during the pandemic, and contributions of community leaders who are building the future. I'd like to take this opportunity to recognize and recall a special moment that happened this year to kick off Hispanic Heritage Month. And that was when our city council and our mayor appointed the first Hispanic chief of police of Lancaster City, Richard Mendez. This achievement in public service is important so that we as individuals, or so that we have individuals who reflect our community and leadership. It's one of many moments, one of many people, and one of many more opportunities for us to celebrate and inspire during this month. Thank you, Council President.
Thank you. Councilors, is there anyone that you would like to call to the podium briefly? You may, but you may also not.
I would like to bring la señora María Díaz para que nos tenga unas palabras.
Well, I can say in both English and Spanish. Es un honor ser parte de la comunidad hispana y latina y quiero agradecer que, igual que es lo mismo con lo de Welcoming City, que Welcoming Week, que aquí en Lancaster para la comunidad hispana ha sido muy welcoming, muy bienvenidos. Y estamos nosotros muy orgullosos de que tenemos nuestro primer Chief of Police que sé que es latino. I just wanted to say that I'm very proud to be Hispanic and also Latina. And also, this also has to do with Welcoming Week, that we feel that Lancaster is very welcoming to the whole Hispanic and Latino communities. And also that we're very proud that we have our first Chief of Police who's a Latino. I think that was all of the things that I said in Spanish. But thank you again. This in Hispanic Heritage Month is a great month for us. We feel great that we are being represented for a whole month, that, us as Hispanics can have a whole month to celebrate and to party. Tenemos todo un mes para celebrar y para festejar. Thank you.
Gracias, María.
Thank you. Councilor Arroyo, if you would present this to the members of CASA on behalf of council, we'd be honored. Oh, of course.
Okay.
Do your thing.
Thank
You
you.
also have to vote, so.
Thank you, Council President. Okay, I think nobody should ignore the contributions of the Hispanic population to the development of this country when it comes to culture, history, politics. ¿Verdad que sí, Councilor Diaz? Arroyo? City Council, and achievements and so on. Part of the establishment fails to recognize it sometimes. Besides, they are the largest immigrant population living in the country. So this resolution and the celebration of their contributions, diversity, inclusivity, are well deserved.
Thank you, Counselor. Comments from the public? Director Carrasco?
I just have one comment, actually, two very quick ones. During Hispanic Heritage Month, really wanted to highlight some events that are happening. So we have, as I mentioned before, the Hispanic Artist Exhibition that's happening at the Welcome Center. We also have Hispanic Heritage Month Festival that's happening Saturday, October 15th, that is led by the city. We have Brenda K. Starr that is leading in the music act, so we're really excited about that. Later in October, Lancaster Chamber is hosting a Hispanic business owner breakfast. And most excitingly, we're asking everyone in this room and everyone that's listening to us, the city has a program related to, we're seeking nominations for Lifetime Achievement Awards. So if there's someone, a leader in the that has impacted you, or that you've seen that's impacted the Hispanic community, we're asking for nominations, and the nominations end this Thursday. So thank you.
Thank you. Sir?
Nitaongea katika lugha ya Kiswahili.
Of course.
Kwa majina naitwa Sibakulu.
For the name that is called Sibakulu.
Ni mwenyekiti wa kominote ya Mbondo Lancaster.
So, it is working in the community that is called
ya Mbondo Lancaster.
Mbondo Lancaster.
Ndio, ninayo furaha kubwa
And I'm very happy.
kwa kuona serikali inatujali miongoni mwa wakimbizi wanaofika hapa.
To see how the government is taking care of the refugees.
Sababu kuna kikao kulikuwa sherehe ya mapolisi walitualika tukafika.
So there were the police that saw us coming in.
Na tena leo tumepata aliko.
So even today we are welcome.
Sasa nilivyosikia mjumbe kutoka kabila ya Waespanyol.
So I've heard news coming from the Spanish community.
Kwamba wanasherekea ndugu yao ambaye amewezeshwa kuwa askari polisi.
So we heard that there is a nominated chief of the police who is from the Spanish community.
Na sisi tutaomba serikali kama wanavyofanya kwa wakimbizi wengine huo mfereji, na sisi tuelekezwe ili tufikie hapo.
So we are happy and we would like also to see this happening in our community as well, for us to be able to be also having nomination in certain things.
Si hapo tuna mengine.
As here and others.
Asante.
Thank you.
Thank you. Going once? Okay. Mr. Harris, if you would.
Yes, Mr. President. Mr. Arroyo.
Aye.
Mr. Cleese.
Aye.
Ms. Craig.
Aye.
Ms. Diaz.
Aye.
Ms. Walsh.
Aye.
And President Smith-Waddell.
Aye. Thank you all. Thank you, Counselor. We have one more, Mr. Harris, I believe.
Yes, we do, Mr. President. Council Resolution Number 76, a resolution of the Council of the City of Lancaster recognizing October 1st, 2022 as Hazel I. Jackson Day in the City of Lancaster and encouraging awareness of Hazel I. Jackson's perseverance, determination, and spirit of service to the children of Lancaster.
Motion to approve?
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second for this resolution to recognize Hazel I. Jackson Day in the City of Lancaster. Since I have the privilege of being council president, I want to take a moment to talk about Aunt Hazel, as I was instructed to call her. I was a bad kid. There's no other way around it. And Hazel taught at Millersville as well as in the school district of Lancaster. And she was an old school, classy kind of lady and was not the sort of person who was comfortable with a 5-year-old just sort of randomly calling her by her first name, but I was incorrigible. And so the compromise that we came to was Aunt Hazel. And she really did treat me as a member of her family, and many of the sort of great African-American books I've had the opportunity to read in my lifetime were put into my hands by Ms. Jackson. And that's something for which I will forever be grateful. And actually now I have the opportunity to invite her daughter, former City of Lancaster Treasurer and former Executive Director of Crispus Attucks Community Center, Cheryl Holland Jones, to the microphone to address council.
Good evening, Mayor Sirachi and President Swiss Waddell, as well as city council members and the community. First, let me just say thank you for this honor, for the resolution for the second annual Jackson Day of Action, which will be held at Jackson Middle School on October the 1st. Just a little history for those who may not know my mother. She was, as President Waddell said, she was the first African-American female teacher at the school district of Lancaster and the first African-American professor at Millersville University. So when my mother turned 80 years old, Mayor Gray at the time, actually, she had a huge birthday party and he made October 1st Hazel I. Jackson Day. So then we decided then my mother ended up, maybe you know that the Edward Hand Middle School's name was changed to the Hazel I. Jackson Middle School. And so as the opening for that, we decided to use this particular date since it was close to the beginning of the school year, October 1st, that we would then call it the Jackson Day of Action. And it was appropriate because not only was my mother an educator, but she was also very engaged in civic work. And so this Day of Action is a day to engage the community and the students at the school in doing projects. So this year, we're really excited about our project. The first year, the city participated as well as the United Way, and they made it very successful. This year is a stormwater project that we're continuing work on from a grant that from 2017 between the City of Lancaster and the School District of Lancaster by participating in the city's stormwater management plan while providing youth educational opportunities to learn more about the environment and necessary environmental needs of the community. In addition, this project will shine a light on various career opportunities in the environmental field. The idea is to create and upgrade and clean up the watershed area, which will help with stormwater management through the sustained support of the community, organizations, school staff, students, and our families. And the space will be able to fulfill our vision. And a couple of the benefits will be increasing ecological literacy among urban youth, increasing the diversity of habitat space in an urban environment, and helping to mitigate stormwater runoff and supplying a nutritional food source for the youth and their families. Two of the main sponsors this year are the United Way and Highmark Whole Care. In addition, the Lancaster County Community Foundation, the School District of Lancaster, the City of Lancaster, and Blazing Jays. We've had some really great partners to really work on this together. We spoke today with Catherine Austin here at the city, Green Infrastructure Asset Coordinator, and we'll be working along with her and Thaddeus Stevens College of Technology to work on, one of the things will be to provide also a handicapped accessible raised beds, and we'll have master gardeners from the Farm and Home Center. So we really feel this is a great partnership with so many groups coming together. So this project will continue the legacy of my mother and her commitment to the community while instilling community engagement in our youth. Thank you again for your support as we continue the Hazel I. Jackson Foundation through the Lancaster County Community Foundation. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Council comments. From the public. Hearing none, Mr. Harris.
Mr. Arroyo.
Aye.
Ms. Begay? I'm sorry. Mr. Calise?
Aye.
Ms. Gregg?
Aye.
Ms. Diaz?
Aye.
Ms. Walsh?
Aye.
And President Smith-Waddell.
Aye. Thank you. Ms. Holland-Jones? Okay, I am going to take this opportunity to just pause the meeting for a moment. And if you'd like to go, we do have something of an agenda this evening. You're welcome to stay. You are always welcome. This is your city hall. But if you'd like to take the opportunity to step out before we begin our first public comment period, you're welcome to do so now. You're very welcome.
Sí, nosotros podemos printearlo y yo te puedo llevarlo para la oficina si está bien. Sí, ¿dos en español? Sí. Sí, está bien. Sí. Let me make sure. Make sure we're good.
Okay. Thank you all for bearing with, and thank you all for coming this evening. We'll resume our meeting now with our first public comment period, reserved for those persons who have contacted the city clerk prior to the meeting. The rules are the same. Begin with your name and the block of your residence. Please keep your comments to 3 minutes in length, and of course, please come to the microphone. Do we have any comments this evening, Mr. Harris?
Yes, we do. First, we have Mary Moore.
Ma'am? Can you give me that name again, Mr. Harris?
Mary Moore.
Ms. Moore, are you here? Okay, it appears not. Do we have any other public comments this evening?
We do. Sean Dominic.
Good evening, sir.
Good evening. Hello, my name is Sean. I am on the 400 block of Fremont Street. I am a member of St. Joseph Church and part of the Catholic worker movement here in the city. I'm speaking today on behalf of the homeless of Lancaster, including some friends of mine. I have 3 notes to give context to my requests. First, I hope the council is fully aware of the housing crisis in our fine city, which has likely reached an all-time peak. At Water Street Mission, our city's primary shelter, they have been full day after day, week after week, turning people away because there are simply no more beds. I have it on good authority from a social worker that this was never the case in her 4-decades-long career. Second, I hope the council is also fully aware of the current law governing our city's parks. A city ordinance prohibits overnight stays, and our mayor's police force regularly enforces this ordinance. Third, I hope more than anything that the council is fully aware that our Creator gave the entire earth to all of humanity to provide for our needs. So I must ask the council, how do you justify this ordinance? I must ask the mayor in particular, how do you justify enforcing this absurd law? Consider the logic of the ordinance. Where are the homeless supposed to go when they are ordered out of the park? Can they go home? Are they supposed to pace about, exhausted up and down the empty city streets until morning? Does the law assume that they will sleep in the bottom of the Conestoga River? What single patch of grass or covering from rain is provided in Lancaster City, if not our public parks? And what do you think happens after you drive them out? I've talked to many of them and learned that they either hide, return later, or go to another park. They have nowhere else to go. I ask the council to consider what the point of public property is. Is it to serve the public or to serve the rich? Should we prioritize our resources for the needs of our poorest citizens, or do our city's public parks exist for the sake of the wealthy alone? The mayor was quoted in LNP last month saying that, quote, "The presence of a large number of unhoused individuals creates another set of problems for our downtown business around health and cleanliness, safety issues, drug use. It's not good for anybody," unquote. I found that statement very troubling. Are the homeless not included in anybody? I'm certain that it would be good for the homeless to enjoy an honest night's sleep without being disturbed by the police. And what do our downtown businesses have to do with the issue? Our downtown business owners have homes to sleep in. The poorest of our citizens do not. If well-off lawyers, consultants, and landlords going out for a steak dinner at the Imperial are made uncomfortable by the sight of the homeless, then we've done everyone a public service. Their meeting gives them a chance to see and respond to the plight of the poor, either by personally giving alms or by donating to our city's shelters. So with all that said, I'd like to make 2 requests which I ask in the name of our almighty Creator. To the council, abolish the illegitimate ordinance which prohibits overnight stays in our public parks. And to the mayor, stop violently enforcing this ordinance and violating the housing rights of Lancaster's poorest citizens. Thank you all for your time.
Thank you.
And almost exactly 3 minutes too, Sean. Well done. Do we have any other public comments, Mr. Harris?
We do not, Mr. President.
Thank you. That brings us to reports requested by council. Do we have any this evening, Mr. Harris?
We do. We have a presentation regarding the city's language access program.
Excellent. Can you, thank you.
Good evening, honorable council members. Thank you for having me here today. It is an honor to share with you the Certified Welcoming City highlights and a little bit of a language access update. I am here today to share and also to resonate with what has been shared earlier today related to our welcoming city efforts. As many of you know, Lancaster takes pride in having a long history of welcome since the early 1700s. And we are all well aware of that as part of our identity and who we are as of now. This year, I had the privilege to assist with the Certified Welcoming Recertification Audit conducted by Welcoming America. And in this slide, we can appreciate the amount of Lancaster City partners. A Certified Welcoming City designation is a distinguished honor granted by Welcoming America to those communities that meet the welcoming standard, which is a socio-economic framework guide describing strong communities that connect and include people of all backgrounds to achieve their highest civic and economic potential. Overall, the welcoming standard consists of 7 criteria categories, 105 questions in the areas of government leadership, equitable access, civic engagement, connected communities, education, economic development, and safe community, and took 3 months to complete that assessment. Within the welcoming standard, a community must meet the core criteria requirements to achieve certification and can provide additional elements for a point scale system that would set the community apart nationally. Currently, 16 cities and counties in the nation are recognized certified welcoming, and of those, 3 are in Pennsylvania, and as you know, we were the first one. The recertification self-assessment submitted to Welcoming America included research about more than 40 Lancaster City partners highlighting programs, services, and inclusive policies that set Lancaster apart nationally and globally as a welcoming community where people of all backgrounds can thrive and belong. I am honored and proud to report that Welcoming America's feedback on our closing meeting was positive, highlighting the following. They communicated a great satisfaction in the abundance of services for refugees and immigrants. And just as a parenthesis, this includes refugee resettlement services, English learning opportunities, workforce development, family support services, naturalization services, educational opportunities, health, transportation, and more. The community's overall intentionality and visible welcoming spirit was another great highlight identified by our assessors. As a special note, the assessment included the contributions of faith organizations, community services, and a panel of diverse faith leaders who provide services to our community-wide. The self-assessment also work managed by this humble Lancaster City staff was deemed professional, complete, and selected as a role model work for other cities interested in becoming certified welcoming nationally and globally. Lancaster City Department initiatives also receive praise from Welcoming America, as many other cities, welcoming work was highly impacted by the pandemic and nearly stopped. Here at Lancaster City, welcoming efforts in developing equitable, accessible, and inclusive programming actually bloomed, flourished, and grew through a global pandemic. And this slide shows some of the highlights, images from our city. For example, our comp plan marketing materials that were translated to 4 languages. We've developed the City of Lancaster welcome page, in which you can find resources community-wide for any individual who might be interested. And with our Google Translate feature, it can be translated to more than 100 languages. Lancaster City, like I mentioned, grew and bloomed through the pandemic, whereas others did not. Some highlights that we received feedback on were the launch of language access tools despite the pandemic with virtual training. I have to really congratulate our comprehensive planning for launching with the development of a diverse CPC cohort who met virtually, including a limited English proficient member who was provided with services through virtual language accessibility services and technology training. I have to highlight that for our comprehensive planning team, this was a core item for our certification process and a requirement in order to acquire our certification. And that Welcoming America had communicated that the comp plan had been accepted as meeting these criteria due to all the efforts that were laid out in accessing and reaching out to our multicultural community and really listening to the voices that really represent the community in developing this plan, which is called our Future Lancaster. So everyone, please congratulate our comp plan team, Douglas and Emma. And their work has not stopped, and they continue to really outreach for our multicultural community in listening to those voices. Other highlights are the adoption of the equity commitments, Sharon Allenspan appointed as Leadership Development and Diversity Manager. And I would like to really highlight and please share a round of applause for our Lancaster City Police Bureau for undertaking a really wonderful agenda in community outreach, hiring 2 social workers, the development of the Community Police Working Group, and policy changes amid a global pandemic. And also they encountered 2 leadership changes. And despite all that, they really were a great highlight to our certified welcoming assessment. Since the assessment includes an entire section on safe community that includes 14 questions and is dedicated to assess safety inclusive methods for a thriving community. So I would like to really highlight our police department for conducting all of this work and really being intentional in being equitable, inclusive, and to really connect with our community, which is very diverse, and really establishing that relationship. Although Lancaster welcoming work is thriving and is going to be featured globally, there is more to be done. And when I mean that it's going to be featured globally, that means that Welcoming America communications team was here during the Welcome Center unveiling and throughout that weekend, filming our community and our leaders for a global Welcoming Week promotion. Furthermore, other opportunities highlighted by Welcoming America are the support of the LCRC in the strategic plan implementation, the identification and development of refugee immigrant leaders in the community. These are the opportunities in which we have the opportunity to grow upon. The opportunity to host the Welcoming Interactive Conference here in Lancaster. This conference is normally held at larger cities, and it has been communicated the opportunity to support Lancaster in hosting these Welcoming Interactive Conference, which will provide the following benefits: exposure to Welcoming America's national and global network of 9,500 email subscribers, 20,000 social media followers, national media push to over 100 outlets, and an attendance conference attendance of over 275 global network members coming to Lancaster if we are elected to host the conference here in Lancaster. Another highlight of opportunity for us is capacity building on the Welcoming Initiative. The Welcoming Initiative aligns with language access as a trust-building bridge, elevating language accessibility to a multicultural community in need of information and developing a connected, confident community here in Lancaster. So now I would like to move on to some language access highlights and updates. Language access implementation was also a certified welcoming highlight as a cross-cultural, cross-departmental equitable access core criteria. I am proud to announce that our city departments are very supportive of the Welcoming Initiative, equitable access and inclusion. Language access highlights here are cross-departmental use of the language line, especially by our social workers, in languages such as Swahili and Nepali. Other departments highly benefiting from our language line are Public Works, Water Office, the LED team, and police. 65 translated documents this year, primarily to Spanish and some other languages. Translated documents to Spanish include all of the sidewalk repair program and sidewalk repair notices. All street pavement construction notices were translated to Spanish. Social media messages were translated to Spanish, and some exclusive ones were translated to Arabic and Swahili. Council agendas have been translated. Comprehensive planning, promotion, and mirror materials were translated to Spanish. LED program application processes were translated to Spanish. Public meeting presentations such as the landlord-tenant LED ordinance changes were translated to Spanish. Notice of violation letters that were issued to limited English proficient community members were translated to Spanish and remailed to the members for them to understand what was being required of them. Marketing materials for DONE, Welcome Center, and police. Some examples of these are the DONE programming sheet in 3 languages, police report in 3 languages, Welcome to Lancaster letter in 5 languages. As of this quarter, translation investments are approximately $11,000. 42,000 words have been translated, City of Lancaster. 13 in-person interpretation sessions have been provided in languages such as Swahili, Spanish, and Arabic. In-person interpretation investment rounds around $2,000. ASL services have also been implemented at public events and work locations. ASL interpretation investment has been around $2,000. I really look forward to coming back later in the fall to share more details on language access investments and future programming. Also, with regards to our Welcoming City certification, they are still conducting interviews of some community members and team members. And the report and process usually takes about 6 weeks until we finally can find out our final recertification status. So I thank you for having me here today, and I'll be happy to answer any questions you may have.
First and foremost, thank you for your work. What you've described is really incredible, and it is your work that makes it possible to do all the things that we claimed to value in our Welcoming City certification. So thank you.
Thank you so much.
Okay, that brings us to reports of committees of council held on September 6, 2022. We'll begin with the Public Safety Committee. Councilor Diaz.
The Safety Committee meeting did not meet.
Thank you, Councilor. We go then to Public Works. Councilor Walsh.
Thank you, Council President. The Public Works Committee did meet, and there was 4 items discussed. The first being a presentation from Lancaster Bikes, which was presented by Adriana Atencio, the Executive Director of the Commonweal, which outlined some of the goals and the priorities of Lancaster Bikes and how they plan on incorporating and adopting some of those goals into some of the plans that the city also has in the works. The second being Administration Resolution Number 72, 2022, which is the acceptance of a statue for Ewell Plaza, which we will come back to later in the agenda. And the third being Administration Bill Number 19, 2022, establishing definitions of sewer laterals, which will also come up later in the agenda. And that concludes the committee's report.
Thank you, Councilor Walsh. We go to Economic Development. Councilor Arroyo.
Thank you, Council President. The Economic Development Committee did meet. We had 2 items on the agenda for the committee meeting. Administration Resolution Number 75, 2022, which was tabled to this evening's council meeting. And the second was the update regarding the housing RFP for ARPA funds. Just letting the public know that the application deadline did close on August 22nd, and that we're currently in the review phase of the proposals. That concludes my report, Council President.
Thank you, Councilor. We go then to the Finance Committee, which, if you'll bear with me a second, I will report on for Councilor Baker. Actually, while I'm doing that, I will have, chosen this moment not to work. Councilor Craig, could you give your community planning report?
Absolutely. Thank you, Council President. Community planning did meet, and we had 4 items on the agenda. First being Administration Resolution 70, 2022, amending the sewer control plan to include redevelopment of 347 North Queen Street. Second was Administration Resolution 71, 2022, amending the sewer control plan to include redevelopment of 223 North Water Street. Also for first reading, we had Administration Bill 18, amending the rental housing ordinance and a review of the Historical Commission recommendations for 250 College Avenue, all of which will be addressed later on in the agenda.
Thank you, Councilor. The Finance Committee did meet last week. They addressed 3 items. The first of those was a presentation from the Lancaster Public Library seeking continued funding support in the city's 2023 budget. The second was Administration Resolution Number 77, amending the city's fee schedule, and I think we'll see that later on this evening's agenda. And then finally, Administration Bill Number 2022, authorizing a general obligation bond issue, which will be on the council agenda for a first reading, not at this meeting, but at the meeting on Tuesday, the 27th. And we were given a review of the bond financing and the 20-year outlook for debt service along those lines. I believe that summarizes the business of the Finance Committee. And then finally, we go to Personnel. Councilor Calixte.
Thank you, Council President. The Personnel Committee met on Tuesday, September 6th, and reviewed nominations for appointment to the Plumbing Board of Examiners and the Planning Commission. That concludes my report.
Thank you, Councilor Calixte. That brings us to our legislative agenda and back to Councilor Calixte, where we will address nominations for appointment.
Thank you, Council President. So I make a motion to appoint Steve Schwager, Chad Walton, Daniel Moser, Barry Soder, and Sean Way for reappointment to the Board of Plumbing Examiners for a term from September 12, 2022 to September 12, 2023. And Amos Stoltzfus to the Planning Commission for a term from September 1st, 2022 to December 31st, 2025. And David Beam to the Planning Commission for a term from September 1st, 2022 to December 31st, 2026. And Heidi Shirk to the Planning Commission for a term from September 1st, 2022 to December 31st, 2025. Stephen Hackett for reappointment to the Planning Commission for a term from December 31st, 2022 to December 31st, 2026. And the nomination of Kelsey Gone Irvine for appointment as an alternate member of the Planning Commission for a term from December 31st, 2022 to December 31st, 2026.
Second.
Thank you.
So we have a motion and a second on the appointments. Council comments on the appointments. From the public? Hearing none, Mr. Harris.
Mr. Arroyo.
Aye.
Mr. Calise.
Aye.
Ms. Craig.
Aye.
Ms. Diaz.
Aye.
Ms. Walsh.
Aye.
And President Smith-Waddell.
Aye. Thank you. That brings us to items under the Heritage Conservation District. Mr. Harris?
Yes, Mr. President. Considering the following applications and recommendations from the Historical Commission to improvements to properties within the Heritage Conservation District. The first is Washington Place Equities, owner of 250 College Avenue, proposes demolition of former hospital structures to allow new construction on the site. Second is Washington Place Equities, owner of 250 College Avenue, proposes modifications of a former hospital building as part of an adaptive reuse project. And third is Washington Place Equities, owner of 250 College Avenue, proposing construction of 53 new townhouses on the western half of the parcel facing Marriott Avenue, Northwest End Avenue, and West Walnut Street. And these applications were recommended for approval by the Historical Commission.
Council President, it has been brought to my attention that we would like to table this, and I have Chris Delph Director Delph to address it.
Sure. Can I have a motion first
Second.
to table?
Motion to table,
Do we have a date? Or
We
2 weeks.
Thank you. Should I have a motion?
need a motion to approve in order to bring it into, for discussion, and then a motion to table follows that.
Thank you. Can I have a motion to move it forward or not?
Motion to approve?
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Councilor Craig.
Motion to table for 2 weeks.
Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you. Mr. Delphs.
Okay.
Good evening, council members and Mayor Sarachi. Thank you for your forbearance. If I may, I would like to request that we table the actions on 250 College Avenue until next regular council meeting on September 27th. In light of some community feedback that we have gotten over the last week regarding the design details on the proposed row homes, I would like our department staff to conduct some additional analysis and come back to council with a clear response and recommendations on that particular set of issues. I think it's worth noting that on the whole, the community planning staff has spent a great deal of time on this particular project. We're very comfortable with the proposed site design for the redevelopment of this significant property, but we would like to revisit a few targeted architectural components before final decisions are made. So with your permission, we would just like to take an additional 2 weeks and make sure that everything is buttoned up.
Thank you. Council comments on the motion to table? Or questions for Director Delphs, of course.
I just have a comment. I just think it's a wise decision to table it until the next council meeting so that we can delve a little deeper into some of the design of the whole project.
Other council comments?
Council President, if I may?
Please.
Director Delphs, just for clarification, will this focus just on the townhome portion of the project or the entire project itself?
Correct. Specifically on architectural components related to the row homes. I guess you do have a procedural question at hand here. There are 3 separate actions. I think it probably makes most sense to table all of the actions so that we can provide all the necessary material to council so you can see it holistically. But our review at the staff level will just be revisiting primarily the row home design.
Thank you for the clarification.
Thank you. Councilor Craig, was it your understanding that when you made your motion, you were moving to table items A, B, and C under the subheading together?
Absolutely, that's correct.
And Councilor Diaz, it was your understanding in seconding?
Yes, that's correct, sir.
Okay, so, and then council is of the understanding that that is the motion currently on the floor, is to table all 3 items, just so that you are aware. Are there other council comments or questions for Director Delphs?
Council President?
Councilor Walsh.
Director Delphs, can you outline some of the feedback that you received? I mean, you don't have to go into every nook and cranny of it, but just general overview of the feedback that you did receive and you're taking into consideration.
Certainly. Some of the comments actually came to my desk as early as yesterday, so I'm still reviewing the comments. I think most of them relate to some of the things that we heard last week with respect to some of the architectural details of the homes themselves, whether there's appropriate differentiation, where particular materials are used, at particular locations of the buildings, et cetera. Those are the types of things that we'll be looking at.
Great, thank you.
And
Please.
if I may, that basically was related also to the townhouses that I guess some of them are considering overpriced. Is that correct?
Unfortunately, the Historical Commission doesn't have any purview over the price of the townhomes, although it is worth noting that one of the things that we are balancing as a department and as a city right now is the cost of development, the cost of producing new housing, the cost of construction materials. So any developer right now is trying to balance good quality design with the economics of actually making the project happen.
I'll send you an email.
Okay.
With the questions that I have.
Certainly.
Thanks.
Thank you, councilors. Comments from the public on the motion to table?
Okay, and I rise to support the motion because in talking with my neighbors, and certainly I feel this way, and as I expressed last week, we have not had enough time to provide public input into the plans and would like the opportunity to talk both about the design and the setback issues and the traffic problems and all of those things, which have not been to the community's satisfaction addressed sufficiently. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Hartley. It was Lloyd Hartley, just to make sure I got that right. Thank you. Other public comments on the motion to table?
Tim Stulder, One United Lancaster. Question would be for Mr. Delfs, just what would the potential outcome be of the review? Would the department potentially come to city council with an amendment to the agreement with the developer or something like that?
Thank you for the question. In all of the cases that we bring before the Historical Commission, there's usually robust dialogue and debate over the architectural details. In general, I think the Historical Commission does a terrific job. I think they did a good job in this case as well, looking at all the various components of the site planning. When we revisit as staff and take a look, we could end up upholding exactly what the Historical Commission has recommended, or we may come back with some adjusted conditions. And that would be a recommendation to council, and council could determine whether they want to incorporate those conditions into the approval of the project.
Other comments from the public on the motion to table? We'll let Mr. Delf sit down after that. Okay. Hearing none, Mr. Harris.
On the motion to table, Mr. Arroyo.
Aye.
Mr. Cleese.
Aye.
Ms. Craig.
Aye.
Ms. Diaz.
Aye.
Ms. Walsh.
Aye.
And President Smith-Waddell.
Aye. Okay. That item is tabled, all three items under the heading Heritage Conservation District as of this moment will appear on the agenda for September 27th. That brings us to ordinances for final passage. We begin with Administration Bill Number 15, 2022. Mr. Harris?
An ordinance of the Council of the City of Lancaster, Lancaster County, Pennsylvania, declaring that flying of flags on city flagpoles is government speech, establishing guidelines regarding the flying of flags on city flagpoles, authorizing the implementation of policies and procedures regarding the same, providing for the severability of the ordinance, providing for the repeal of inconsistent ordinances, and providing that the ordinance shall take effect in accordance with Pennsylvania law.
Thank you. I'll hear a motion.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Councilor Walsh.
Sure. So this particular bill had come before us in August of 2022, outlining some of the changes that would occur as it relates to defining public speech versus non-public speech as it relates to our flags on Lancaster City government property. So as this defines, it essentially breaks it down into categories of appropriateness for flags to be flown. One being ceremonial flags, the second being commemorative flags or organizational flags, and furthermore, the ordinance outlines the staff protocol as to which flags will be flown, and outside of any sort of governmental or state flags or commemorative pieces, a process by which there will be an application set up for individuals or organizations who wish to fly flags outside of those two types to bring that before council for approval in order to fly said flags.
Thank you, Councilor. Is there any other context the administration would like to provide? I see that our solicitor isn't here this evening, but.
I'll just say that this has been important for us to clarify so that we can avoid any potential conflict of someone requesting a flag that is in contradiction to the express values of the administration, council, and that this also just clarifies a process to bring requests to City Council for approval, and we anticipate doing that on a semi-annual basis as we have many flags that we fly proudly in front of City Hall, and is a statement of our support related to those causes and issues that are reflected by those flags. Thank you, Council President.
Thank you. And in the in the proposed process that would follow the ordinance if passed, would an entity falling in the category that they do need to request, would they make their request directly to council, or would they make that request to the administration and it then be brought to council? Say it was outside of the biannual, bringing of the flags. I'm losing myself here, but
Yes, I'm following. The process would be to go through the Lancaster Office of Promotion, and there is a JOT form that they would complete with the days that they would like the flag to be raised. And there's some parameters around that in terms of making sure that the flag is available, that it's not torn or tattered, that it is of an appropriate size, that had all the details. And then those would be brought to council. In the event that an organization misses that moment, I'm sure that we can figure out how to accommodate that, but we are trying to bundle the requests so that there's a calendar for flag raisings and that there is an appropriate advance notice of when flags are going to be raised and for how long.
thank you. Council comments?
Thank you, Council President. I don't know if I forget, how long would the flag would fly?
I believe that is specified in the policy. DJ, do you remember? Is it 3 days? 3 days.
Oh, thank you.
Other council comments? From the public? Going once, going twice? Hearing none, Mr. Harris?
Mr. Arroyo.
Aye.
Mr. Calise.
Aye.
Ms. Craig.
Aye.
Ms. Diaz.
Aye.
Ms. Walsh.
Aye.
And President Smith Waddell.
Aye. Thank you. Wait just a second here. Okay, and that brings us to bill number. That brings us to bill number 17, 2022. Mr. Harris?
I'm sorry, bill number 16.
Did I? Oh, I skipped one, yep. My apologies, bill number 16, thank you.
An ordinance of the City Council of the City of Lancaster, amending Chapter 32 of the Code of the City of Lancaster, Central Market Trust, 32-4, Central Market Trust Board of Directors, to allow for more than 9 directors, amending Chapter 228 of the Code of the City of Lancaster, Public Markets, 228-1, Days and Times of Operation, and 228-2, Central Markets House Regulations, Subpart G, to allow days and hours of operation to be determined by the Central Market Trust, providing for the repeal of inconsistent ordinances, providing for the severability of the ordinance, and providing that the ordinance shall take effect in accordance with Pennsylvania law.
Motion to approve.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Councilor Craig.
Thank you, Council President. I don't have a lot to add to that, other than it's my understanding that this ordinance will also make it a necessity that will change and allow for more freedom of such things as deliveries, curbside, and online shopping. I thought I saw somebody here from
Yes.
Central Market Trust. Hi.
And while Bruce is coming to the podium, if I could just jump in, Counselor, I want to just commend Central Market for the evolution of their organization, their fundraising, their looking to expand and consider new offerings and opportunities from Central Market. Central Market continues to be a jewel of our city, and is the changes that are presented in this ordinance are a continuing evolution of and reflect the strength, I believe, of the Central Market Board and the ways in which they are carrying out their work. This does not mean that the city of Lancaster will not have a seat on the board, but it does give more flexibility for that person to not be restricted to the Department of Public Works Director. We have another staff member who actually is Tina Campbell, who has expressed interest, who will be joining the board, and our Deputy Director of Deputy Director of Public Works for Construction and Operations, Matt Metzler, will also participate on a subcommittee level, and we continue to work through other capital needs and construction needs. However, we have done an amazing amount of work on the building infrastructure, and there has been a tremendous amount of private support that continues in that direction. And so this is really a reflection of the evolution of the Central Market Trust over these many years as the longest continuously open market in the country.
So that's our objective. Appreciate your response.
Thank you. Are there any further comments from council?
Councilor Craig, if I may. In reference to the hours, will you consider extending the hours? Sometimes you guys close a little early. I was just curious. I mean, people ask us, especially people from out of town.
We're actually not really looking at extending hours of current operations, but if we add services such as pickup services, delivery services, then we're actually operating outside the scope of what our hours are currently limited to by the ordinance. So that would give us the flexibility to continue to provide, to meet those community needs in a different way than just having the building itself. You know, the people who, what makes it unique as a place is not only that it's a public building, but it's actually still real farmers, real producers of food who prepare fresh product every market day. So that does place some limited length of time. They brought it in at 6 o'clock in the morning, by 7 o'clock in the evening, 95 degrees. We wouldn't exactly be offering fresh product, but, so we try to balance retaining that tradition in the sense of local production of food, but also trying to keep all
Thank you so much.
Additional comments from council?
Counselor Craig, do you know the timeline for that USDA grant, when you expect to hear?
I've been biting my fingernails
Yeah, I bet.
last week or so. We're expecting it any day now.
Okay.
You know, we've made it through to the final round, so we feel good about our chances, but
You never. That's wonderful. Yeah, because I know the programs outlined within that particular grant really help to increase access to very vulnerable populations within Lancaster City, and I wish you the best of luck, and I'll keep my fingers crossed for you. No problem.
Any further questions from council? Comments or questions from the public? Thank you. Excited to have it.
All right, in that case, Mr. Harris.
Mr. Arroyo.
Aye.
Mr. Calise.
Aye.
Ms. Craig.
Aye.
Ms. Diaz.
Aye.
Ms. Walsh.
Aye.
And President Smith Waddell.
Aye. Thank you. That brings us to Administration Bill Number 17, 2022. Mr. Harris?
An ordinance of the City Council, an ordinance of the City of Lancaster restating Chapter 260 of the Code of the City of Lancaster, Stormwater Management, and providing for the means and timing of its implementation, providing for the severability of the ordinance, and the repeal of inconsistent ordinances.
Motion to approve?
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Counselor Walsh?
I actually have a motion to amend and table until September 27th that I would like to read.
Please.
Okay, thank you. It's a bit lengthy, so bear with me here. I hereby move to amend Section 4 of the ordinance to read as follows. The restated provisions of Section 260.802 and 260.903 and the addition of the definition of animal pet waste in Section 260.202 shall become effective 20 days after adoption of this ordinance in accordance with Pennsylvania law, while all other provisions shall become effective January 1st, 2023, with the express understanding and intention that other than the provisions referenced above becoming effective 20 days after adoption, all existing terms and provisions of Chapter 260 of the City Code of the City of Lancaster will remain in full force and effect until January 1st, 2023, when the remaining terms and provisions of the restated Chapter 260 Code of the City of Lancaster attached hereto and incorporated herein as Exhibit A become effective, and to amend Exhibit A to the ordinance as set forth in the red line version submitted to us by Director Campbell through the city clerk, copies of which all members of council have before them, and to direct the city clerk with the assistance of the city solicitor to table and to re-advertise the ordinance as amended with the changes to the ordinance and Exhibit A for adoption on September 27th, 2022.
Second. All right, we have a motion to amend and table and a second. Council comments on the motion to amend and table? Comments from the public on the motion to amend and table? Mr. Harris?
Mr. Arroyo.
Aye.
Mr. Calise.
Aye.
Ms. Craig.
Aye.
Ms. Diaz.
Aye.
Ms. Walsh.
Aye.
And President Smith Waddell.
Aye. Well done, Councilor Walsh. Thank you. All right, that brings us to ordinances for first reading. We begin with Administration Bill Number 18, 2022. Mr. Harris.
An ordinance of the City of Lancaster, Lancaster County, Pennsylvania, establishing a residential rental licensing and inspection system, including designation of the rights and responsibilities of owners, property managers, tenants, and code officials of the City of Lancaster, procedures regarding disruptive conduct by property occupants, and inspection requirements and procedures, providing for violations, penalties, and remedies, providing for appeals, providing for the repeal of inconsistent ordinances, providing for the severability of the ordinance, and providing that the ordinance shall take effect on January 1st, 2023.
Motion to approve.
We actually,
First reading.
it's
Oh,
a,
it's the first reading?
we do that every time. It's all right. Councilor Craig.
Thank you, Council President. The City of Lancaster has identified the need for a licensing program to ensure that residential rental properties and residential rental units are appropriately identified and maintained to meet all applicable property maintenance, building, fire, health, safety, and zoning codes to protect the health and welfare and safety of residents of Lancaster City, and to provide an efficient system for compelling both absentee and local landlords to correct violations and maintain and in proper condition rental properties within the city. That was a brief summary of the bill, and I see that Mr. Nixon is here to address this further and to answer any questions that council or the public may have. Good evening, Mr. Nixon.
Good evening, Council, Mayor Saraji. Yes, I'm available to answer any questions that you may have for me or...
Yeah, and if you would like to add anything to, because I'm sure I just did a little snippet of what you gave us on Monday.
So yes, our ordinance is in place to protect, right now, over 13,486 units throughout the city of Lancaster. This ordinance will provide us jurisdiction to go into approximately 12,000 properties to prevent lead hazard issues that could be in those properties. My staff will be doing inspections about 3,500 annually to meet the goal of 14,000 inspections done every 4 years.
Are there questions or comments from council?
If I may, Councilor.
Go ahead.
In regards to possibly residents that do leave, like in the winter for a length of time, how would you be pursuing that inspection if they're not here?
So our inspections will be made with the landlord. If the landlord is absent, they must assign a property management company or a responsible agent to allow us to get into the property. If they know that they're going to be away due to a pre-scheduled vacation or family needs, they can contact our office, and we will be able to reschedule that appointment, whether it be prior to their departure or upon their return back to the city.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
So their inspection is scheduled with your department, so they know exactly when it's coming up.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. Further questions from council? Questions from the public?
Thank you, Councilor Craig. Thank you, Mr. Nixon. All right, that moves us along to Bill number 19, 2022. Mr. Harris, if you would.
An ordinance of the City Council of the City of Lancaster, amending Chapter 249 of the Code of the City of Lancaster, Sewers, Part 1, Sewer System Regulations, Article 1, General Provisions, Section 294-4, Definitions, Word Usage, to revise the definitions of building sewer lateral and lateral, to add a definition for sewer lateral, and to delete the definition of city service line, providing for the repeal of inconsistent ordinances, providing for the severability of the ordinance, and providing that the ordinance shall take effect in accordance with the laws of the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania.
Thank you. Councilor Walsh?
Thank you, Council President. As I understand this, and I'm happy to have Director Campbell on hand today to answer any questions as well, but as I understand this, what this does is really refine the code that is in place to ensure that there are no irregularities or oversights or any sort of, I'll call it muddiness within the ordinance itself. So as far as I understand it, what this does is clearly defines several sections of the ordinance that is in place where before they may be irrelevant now or just really needed unmuddying of sorts. And I welcome Director Campbell to make clear what I just said, if there are any questions.
Very good. Thank you. Thank you very much. This, as I had mentioned last time, this is almost the quintessential definition of making sure that there's no disclarity within the description and write-up of an ordinance. It was to clarify the definition of sewer laterals separate from service lines. That had been a terminology that was used indiscriminately throughout the previous ordinance. And secondly, to reconfirm that the responsibility for the service lines is that of the property owners to which those service lines are attached. And that really is the extent of the clarification.
Thank you.
Thank you, Director Campbell. Are there any other questions or comments from council? Any other questions or comments from the public? Okay. So we'll see both of those 2 weeks from now. That moves us to resolutions, beginning with Administration Resolution Number 70. Mr. Harris?
A resolution of the Council of the City of Lancaster approving the adoption of an amendment to the Act 537 Official Sewage Facilities Plan for the City of Lancaster.
Motion to approve.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Councilor Craig?
Thank you, Council President. The Pennsylvania Department of Environmental Protection requires that the municipality to adopt an official sewage facility plan, providing for the services adequate to prevent contamination and environmental health hazards with sewage waste, and to amend when necessary to assure there is adequate sewage disposal. We do these a lot, and I really don't have anything to add to that. It's something that needs to be done so that we serve the community and don't have any hazardous waste. And the buildings that they build that they service has adequate services to avoid contamination. I don't have a lot more to add to that. I don't know if Douglas can improve on it or add to it at any point.
Good evening, councilors. Good evening, Mayor. Councilor Craig, I think you did a good job describing that. I'm happy to answer additional questions. And again, these are really serving twofold for the city. Primarily, these are to ensure for the city to validate to DEP that we have capacity in our system and a way of disposing of the sewage, which we do, thankfully. And also to make sure that that aligns with our land use pattern. So in both of these cases, the city is recommending approval because it has met both of those issues. So happy to provide additional details on the development itself if that's needed too.
Thank you. Are there any questions from council? Any questions from the public?
Okay. Hearing none, Mr. Harris?
Mr. Arroyo?
Aye.
Mr. Cleese?
Aye.
Ms. Gregg?
Aye.
Ms. Diaz?
Aye.
Ms. Walsh?
Aye.
And President Smith-Waddell.
Aye. Thank you. That brings us to Administration Resolution number, you're just going to hang out? Yeah. Number 71. Mr. Harris?
A resolution of the Council of the City of Lancaster approving the adoption of an amendment to the Act 537 Official Sewage Facilities Plan for the City of Lancaster. And, Mr. President, if I can add that the previous resolution was regarding the proposed development at 347 North Queen Street. This one is regarding the redevelopment at 223 North Water Street by PCAD Housing.
Thank you. Councilor Craig, it was your understanding in the previous motion that you were moving forward the sewer control plan for 347 North Queen Street?
Correct.
Excellent. Thank you, Mr. Harris. Okay, and we'll hear a motion for Administration Resolution number 71.
Motion to approve.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second, whichever one of you two would like to.
I'm going to throw that right on to Douglas because it's the same thing that we just did.
Precisely, Councilor Craig.
Council comments? from the public? Hearing none, Mr. Harris.
Mr. Roya?
Aye.
Mr. Cleese?
Aye.
Ms. Craig?
Aye.
Ms. Diaz?
Aye.
Ms. Walsh?
Aye.
And President Smith-Waddell.
Aye. That brings us to Administration Resolution Number 72, 2022. Mr. Harris, if you would.
A resolution of the City Council approving the donation of artwork entitled Henry Norwood Barney Yule, 1918 to 1996, from the Barney Yule Legacy Committee, and authorizing and directing the proper officials of the City of Lancaster to enter into an art donation agreement with the Barney Yule Legacy Committee.
Motion to approve.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Councilor Walsh?
Thank you, Council President. I think the resolution is pretty straightforward. What this would allow the city to do would be to enter into an agreement to receive a donated sculpture from the Chad Fisher of Fisher Sculptures organization. I think it's pretty straightforward. The city has, within the Office of Public Art, has a gift agreement that has been completed and is ready to move forward. Is there anything else that you would like to add, Director Delps, as it relates to the agreement itself? Okay.
Hello again. As you mentioned, Councilor Walsh, at the Council Committee meeting last week, I shared some details about the creation and the upcoming installation of the new Barney Yule statue in Yule Plaza. And in sum, the city administration and the Public Art Advisory Board enthusiastically support and recommend acceptance of the Barney Yule statue donation. We again express our gratitude to the Barney Yule Legacy Committee. There are a couple members from the committee here tonight. They're donating the work, as you mentioned, by sculptor Chad Fisher. And we look forward to sharing more information with the council and with the public about the official dedication ceremony for the plaza and the statue, which will take place on November 19th.
Thank you.
Thank you, Director Delps. Gentlemen, would either of you like to? And I see you too, Mr. McGrann.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. My name is Jeremiah Miller, and I'm a member of the Barney Yule Legacy Committee. We are here to answer any questions that any of you may have, but we just want to say thank you for getting us to this point. We really appreciate the city working with us on, as we've striven to honor Barney Yule in this way and get the plaza named for him, and now the culmination of this work with the statue. So we appreciate your enthusiasm for this project. And I think Art just wanted to say.
Mayor?
I would feel bad not saying this tonight, but it's a sad day for us.
Yes.
Because one of our members passed away this morning. And Ken Stout, who was a key member of our four-person group, was the one that initiated the call to me and then me to Jeremiah about trying to bring Barney Yule to the forefront. That happened in 2015. And Ken's a great guy, and you'll hear more about him here in the next months. But I didn't want to walk out of here and not say this to you, but he would tell you thank you very much for your support.
And I just want to extend my condolences and appreciation at this juncture as well, because Ken was a stalwart supporter of this effort and a partner in crime, if you will, to this committee in bringing forward the work that has taken place thus far. And I want to just offer my condolences to you, Art, as his friend, and to Jeremiah as a committee member.
Thank you, Mayor. I would say Ken is a proud McCaskey grad. He was at McCaskey in '61. I graduated in '63, so we go back many, many moons. And you'll hear a lot about him here in the near future about what he's done for the city of Lancaster. He's loved the city. He's lived here his whole life. And again, we appreciate your support for this project.
Thank you, mayors. We are not here above a moment of silence, so we're going to just do that for a second in honor of Ken and his work on the Barney Ewell Legacy Committee and elsewhere in the city. Thank you. Mr. McGran.
Thank you. John McGran, 600 block of West Chestnut Street, and I have the pleasure of serving as chair of the Public Art Advisory Board. And I'll just take a moment and say the same thing, Ken was a longtime friend of my father, and I've known him, quite a lot in my life, and I'm really sad to hear that news today. That being said, what I wanted to come here today and say is, first of all, I'm excited to see this coming before City Council. And, I'm really excited about how this entire project's come together. And really, the Barney Ewell Legacy Committee deserves, some gratitude. This opportunity for this sculpture to come to life came right as the Public Art Advisory Board and the Office of Public Art were in the process of revising and updating our gift policy, and they were gracious enough to be flexible and patient and accommodating, and became almost a pilot for putting that policy into effect. And I see this agreement and seeing this on the agenda tonight is the culmination of that. So I want to just take a moment and thank Art, Jeremiah, and Ron, and Ken for their efforts to bring this forward, for their flexibility and being gracious throughout the process, and for the amazing job they did of both putting together a proposal for this to happen in the first place, and for doing the necessary fundraising to bring a beautiful sculpture to this beautiful new park in our city. So thank you very much.
Thank you. We don't yet have an image of the sculpture, do we? Okay. Right. Any other council comment?
If I may.
Please.
One thing that I recall is that my mother took care of him in Conestoga View, and he would really tell her many stories. And she would come home and says, "Oh my goodness, Janet, wait till I tell you." Just because of the way sometimes he would tell his story to her. So I'm really excited and can't wait to see the event and see the sculpture when it's unveiled. Thank you.
Other comments from the public? Mr. Harris.
Mr. Arroyo.
Aye.
Mr. Calise.
Aye.
Ms. Craig.
Aye.
Ms. Diaz.
Aye.
Ms. Walsh.
Aye.
And President Smith-Waddell.
Aye. Okay. That brings us to Administration Resolution number 75. Mr. Harris?
Unfortunately, Mr. President, I cannot read the title of that resolution as I have not received it. I think it would be appropriate to have a motion to table the resolution.
Council President.
I'm sorry, there would be a motion to approve in order to have discussion and then a motion to table.
Right. I'll hear a motion to approve.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Second.
We have a motion and a second.
And I'll also motion to, I do that?
Yes, motion to table.
I'll motion to table to full council on September 27th.
Second.
Okay. We have a motion and a second. Council comments on the motion to table.
Just to say we're awaiting some additional comments from the School District of Lancaster solicitor, not substantive changes. I'm hoping to have them tomorrow.
Okay, thank you. Public comments on the motion to table. Okay. Hearing none. Mr. Harris.
Mr. Arroyo.
Aye.
Mr. Calise.
Aye.
Ms. Craig.
Aye.
Ms. Diaz.
Aye.
Ms. Walsh.
Aye.
And President Smith-Waddell.
Aye. All right, that brings us to Administration Resolution number 77, 2022. Mr. Harris?
A resolution of the City Council of the City of Lancaster, Lancaster County, Pennsylvania, amending its fee schedule.
Motion to approve?
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Councilor Bakay is not here this evening. Mr.
Mr. President, there's been a request to table this until the meeting on the 27th so that it would be adopted in conjunction with the rental housing ordinance in which many of these fees are tied.
That makes perfect sense. Sounds like the 27th is going to be a party. I will hear a motion, or you know what, I will make a motion to table this item for the next meeting of full council on September 27th.
Second.
All right, I have a motion and a second. Council comments on the motion to table. Comments from the public on the motion to table. Hearing none, Mr. Harris.
Mr. Roya,
Aye.
Mr. Calise,
Aye.
Ms. Craig,
Aye.
Ms. Diaz,
Aye.
Ms. Walsh,
Aye.
and President Smith-Waddell.
Aye. All right. So we'll see everybody back here on the 27th. That brings us to our second public comment period, reserved for comment about issues not on the agenda. The general ground rules remain the same. Please come to the podium, use the microphone. Your time limit is 3 minutes, and begin with your name and the block of your residence.
Good evening. My name is Irene Grievous, as many of you know. I have a concern with the nomination of the commissioner for Sean Way. I guess he was just appointed today. The concern is he has been a plumber for a number of years, and he has also have not been getting permits as required in the city, as I have been required by the city, and many other property owners have. Under the abusive guardianship racket, which there was a management company handling my mother's rental properties. Mr. Sean Way was one of the plumbers who has done tens of thousands of dollars worth of work over a 7-year period, where basically they built my mother's estate. Till this day, it's still pending. But my concern is, why are some policy and procedures not equally among everyone? It seems that certain policy and procedures apply to some, but not for others. I have many years of statements to validate. In fact, going back 10 years ago, I've been bringing this concern to the city, and the city has done nothing. I brought it to the city council meetings back 10 years ago, and nothing was being done. So this really surprises me that here I am 10 years later, and I've applied for 6 permits, as many of you know, and all 6 of mine have been denied for minor cosmetic things. Yet some other plumbers that this is their business, they're not being held to the same standard, and I'm just wondering why. And this goes back to the administration with Mayor Gray at the time, and, you know, this does not seem fair and or equal among all the residents. And being this is a welcoming week, I feel anything but welcomed here after 30-some years. You know, I have 6 permits that I've applied for, as many of you know. I have all the certifications for plumbing, electric, HVAC, yet my property, a year later, in a couple days will be 1 year, and the city still is for retaliation of this abusive guardianship racket. I'm being retaliated against for speaking up as I have been doing all this time. And this kind of falls under the honest services fraud. I'm not going to read this to you. I will provide documents to basically validate or show what is going on, unfortunately, in the city. So I do not feel welcomed. Being welcoming week, it's anything but, in my opinion, and many others feel the same. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Grievous.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Are there other public comments? Okay, hearing none, we go then to the report of the mayor. Mayor Sirachi?
Thank you, President Smith-Waddell. We've spent a lot of time talking about Welcoming Week, and I just want to acknowledge the team, the Welcome Center, and the team that manages it, the Lancaster Office of Promotion and the Department of Neighborhood Engagement's efforts for what happened on Friday. We had a very nice celebration, and I appreciate Councilor Walsh and Councilor Bakay who could attend the Welcome Center unveiling and the reception. There was storytelling and music. And then the very next day, Saturday, was the One World Festival, and walking into the F&M gym and seeing what transpired there was truly awesome. There were celebration, music, dance, food, culture and tradition of so many in our community: Irish, Italian, Jewish, Islamic, African, Indian, Hispanic, Greek, and more. And to have that in one space was really, really terrific. So I want to just congratulate all of the organizers for their hard work, and it's really gratifying to see the efforts of so many pointing in the same direction, echoing one another with the shared vision and goal of being a community of welcome and celebration of the many traditions that our community has. I think this truly is what makes Lancaster so special. I also want to just share with you that the City of Lancaster joined in an amicus brief in Armstrong versus the Pennsylvania Supreme Court, which concerned the enforcement of a Philadelphia City Code that imposes a fine on individuals who fail to report a lost or stolen firearm. Recently, we did learn that the Supreme Court is putting this case on hold until it decides on a different case, that is Crawford versus Commonwealth, in which the City of Philadelphia and others are arguing that Section 6120 of the Uniform Firearms Act, which precludes local municipalities from enacting gun safety ordinances, itself is unconstitutional. And the City of Lancaster will be joining in an amicus brief in this case as well. And I just wanted to alert City Council of our efforts to continue to address illegal guns in our community. And finally, a report that Chief Mendez shared with me earlier today, that we are renewing our efforts, reinvigorating our efforts with Blueprints. Many of you are familiar with what Blueprints is. They are an organization that works to support individuals who have various addiction issues. So they will be coming into the Police Bureau twice a week, elevating their work among our officers, supporting connection to addiction services, and continuing to divert individuals with addiction away from the criminal justice system and towards treatment and care. So I just wanted to pass that along to council for your information. And that concludes my report. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. Sort of following logically from that last note, Blueprints will be having their annual Recovery Day in Buchanan Park this Saturday morning. I will be there I know other members of council have been invited as well, but it begins around 10 a.m. and is just a great opportunity to become aware of Blueprints for Addiction Recovery, meeting people and hearing the stories that they have to tell. As we all well know, in particular, opioid addiction has ravaged our Commonwealth and our country. And we've now found, after years of trying what we should not have tried to begin with, an approach based in shame and incarceration does not help people to recover their health and to recover their lives. And so Recovery Day is a really great opportunity. And also it's just fun. It's not as heavy as I just made it sound. So, of course, you're all invited. And I just want to, turn the clock back a year, maybe 2 years, no, a year, to our reports on the initial work between Blueprints for Addiction Recovery and the City Police Department. Their sort of peer responders aided the City Police in more than one potentially very dangerous situation, and were able to help resolve those situations without any loss of life or harm to either our officers or the individuals in question. So they do very good work. The other is just a mea culpa, and they've all gone, but earlier this evening, I said translators, and I know that professional interpreters really don't like to be referred to as translators, so just want to make clear that I did not attempt to make small of their work in any way. Simultaneous interpretation is extremely hard and exhausting. It's a real skill, so hats off to them, even though they're no longer here. Okay, as we enter hour 3, council comments. Okay, hearing none, I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
We are adjourned. Have a good evening. Patrick, can you just stick around a second?
Yeah.
That's a smart answer.